I wanted to explore how seniors view themselves and if they view themselves as mature or not mature.
At the beginning of the year, I wanted to explore spray paint canvas art. So I created a bunch of different pieces.
At the beginning of the year, I wanted to explore modern music training. So I researched about the differences between classical and modern musicians and how they were trained and how they play. I created a product that was a website that was an application to help people who were modern trained musicians write their music in a theoretical sense that the classical musicians could understand it.
At the beginning of the year, I wanted to explore how how music and happiness related. And I conducted research and learned that there's a lot more complicated stuff in the brain with happiness and music that goes so long to make people happy and calm.
At the beginning of the year, I mostly explored something that wasn't actually what my product was. Basically, like, they were two separate things. I really recommend you don't do that. My product was a bunch of art. I basically just talked about why art is a valid profession and you should stop discouraging people from doing it.
Beginning of the year, I wanted to explore dreaming, which I learned about in my psychology class. So I took something that I learned from a different class that I was into, but never really got to dive into. And I conducted research and learned about Sigmund Freud a little bit more and the sleep cycle and when people actually dream and if they mean anything. And I created a product I made a projector, and then I had 5 people do dream journals for 10 days and compared and contrast them.
At the beginning of the year, I wanted to explore body language. I conducted research and learned a lot about the way we use our bodies in conversations and the way we describe what we're saying through our body.
At the beginning of the year, I wanted to explore xenophobia, specifically how to achieve cross-cultural competence amidst a xenophobic world. That was my research question. I created a product. It was a work of performance art, which I was inspired by works of Judy Chicago and Yoko Ono. Performance art is basically a work of art that's sort of alive. Art is anything that's puts your creative ideas into something that other people can see. And so I had a dining table that I set up all nice, and I had name cards of different people. I had 5 different people of different ethnicities, and I made pizza, 6 different kinds of pizza. They were not directly respective to those exact people's ethnicities. However, the whole idea was that it was people of different backgrounds coming together to interculturally communicate and therefore achieve cross-cultural competence.
At the beginning of the year, I wanted to explore how fantasy affected children. I created a product, a parental handbook.
At the beginning of the year, I wanted to explore the United States Navy and how it connects the United States with other nations around the world. My product, I've created a documentary of interviews and a poster.
At the beginning of the year, I wanted to explore YouTube and the business side of YouTube and success on YouTube.
At the start of the year, I wanted to make my project on artificial intelligence and how that relates to society and the economy and politics and all that stuff. I created a short film documentary.
At the beginning of this year, I wanted to explore how to teach someone on a budget how to eat on a paleo diet, because I know it can be kind of expensive. I created a recipe book. I'm a chef.
At the beginning of the year, I wanted to explore homelessness as the other. I conducted research about homelessness and learned how K2, heroin, homelessness, police brutality, racism against black people, and many other things is such a large problem in the St. Louis area. I focused mainly on street photography, and that's how I learned about it. I started out because I was walking around a Cardinals game, taking photos, doing street photography, and I watched a man have a heart attack, and people walked by him because he was homeless, and they wouldn't give him a phone, they wouldn't give him money, they wouldn't help him at all, as he was asking for help, screaming for help, and no one would do anything.
Advice for next year's juniors would be work hard and make sure you don't procrastinate on the project. If you put a lot of work into it, you'll be fine. Just make sure it's something you're passionate about.
And my advice for next year's juniors, just have fun.
Bring it. But the biggest thing that I want to tell you is that this thing's worth a lot of your grade, and if your first semester teacher doesn't emphasize it, I still recommend that you work on it outside of class, even if you feel like you're unprepared, you don't really know what to do. Just do something so that you're not completely like, you're rushing. Try to choose a research topic that you can easily make a product out of.
So my advice for the next juniors would be to get it started in the fall, and then like...
Advice for juniors, I would say just focus on your research paper, ask for guidance, and start your product a little bit earlier. I wouldn't say it hurt me, but it definitely could have been better.
My advice for next year's juniors, pick something that you're going to be interested in the entire year, because your interest will change. Also know that, like I just said, your first idea for your topic is not going to be your actual topic, so just get that in your head now.
Yeah. Overall, with this project, I learned that I should not procrastinate, and I need to buckle down and, you know, get stuff done as opposed to sitting on YouTube constantly, because it takes up 90% of my life. And any advice for next year's juniors would be just start. Just start doing it when you get it. You'll thank me later.
Advice for juniors, I'd say kind of finish your product early and get as many as the kinks out of the way as you can.
Advice, don't wait till spring break to start your project. Not a good idea. And pick a topic that you love as much as I love mine, because food is my life.
Advice for next year's juniors, focus on something you're passionate about. Don't just pick something for a grade, because it's so much easier to focus on something that you actually care about and want to make better.
Is to don't procrastinate until the end.
And some advice for next year's juniors is just choose a project that you're passionate about, because even though people hate it, it's still fun if you know how to pick a good project. So I enjoyed the project, but make sure you pick a good one.